Hey everybody, Adam here with Hometown Acres. Welcome back. So it's about 50 degrees outside right now and it's gonna get up to 58. So it's gonna be an absolutely perfect day to process some firewood. Not too hot, not too cold. It hasn't rained in about a week, so the ground is fairly firm. And luckily last night, our tree service guy came and dropped off a 6x12 dump trailer load full of wood. And we also have some other logs that are blocked up already, ready to go. So we gotta cut up some of that tree service wood, and we're gonna head back into the woods with the coyote and grab a couple of trees that are down. I was out there riding with the Ranger last night and I noticed a number of different trees had fallen down this winter that I just haven't been able to get back to because it's been so snowy. I mean, we had snow on the ground for probably two and a half months solid straight. And you know, it's funny, in the summertime, you can't wait for the ground to freeze up so that you don't have to deal with the mud. But then winter gets here and you've got snow and it's slippery and icy with the snow. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword there. But like I said, it's gonna be warm today and the ground is actually pretty dry for being spring right now. So I think we're gonna be able to get the tractor back in the woods and not have to take the Ranger back. We'll be able to get a lot more wood out at one time with the tractor, with a 3-point carryall and the grapple. So once we get all that wood taken care of, I wanted to try something new with the Easton Made Axis. I have yet to run this thing without the conveyor on it. When we first got it off the truck, the first thing I did was put the conveyor on it. And so I kind of want to see what it's like to run one without the conveyor. So I'm going to park the dump trailer next to it and see how much different, easier, harder, faster, quicker, slower it's going to be loading the dump trailer just by hand tossing all the splits in. Like I've said before, with that conveyor only being 7 feet long, you have to move the trailer and you've got to rearrange the wood in there, so you've got to stop quite a bit if you're doing it with the conveyor. I think hand chucking it in, you're going to be able to just throw and kind of spread it out evenly and fill up the dump trailer that way. So it's going to be a little bit more, you know, muscular work throwing it in by hand than it is if you just let the conveyor do it. But I think you're going to be able to work for longer periods without having to stop to rearrange wood or move the dump trailer. So real quick, let's get the tractor out and I'll show you how I take the conveyor off the Easton Made Axis, and then we'll get to cutting and then to splitting. Stick around. All right, so really there's only 3 points of connection for this conveyor to the Easton Made Axis. The first is that hand winch there, and that's what raises and lowers it. Then the second connection is on the pivot joint right here. You have what looks like a 3/4 inch bar there that's your pivot. And then you have your hydraulic pump that has 2 screws in there. And then you have one more 7/16 bolt right there to finish getting this valve off here. All right, so now we've got the conveyor off the Easton Made Axis, and let me tell you, that is not something you're gonna wanna be switching on and off every other week. That probably took me about an hour to take it off. Now granted, if you were taking it on and off every week, you'd probably get a little bit quicker at it, but that conveyor is pretty heavy. I don't know how much it is, but it's probably 300 or 400 pounds, something like that. and there's so much pressure on that pin that goes in the end that you really need a loader on a tractor or 3 or 4 strong buddies to help you relieve the pressure on that pin so you can put it in and pull it back out. But we got it out. I'll probably leave it off for a little while now and run the axis without the conveyor, just so I can give a good review of what the axis would be like if you ordered it without the conveyor. Now that we've got the conveyor off of the axis, we can go ahead and get to the fun part, and that's going to be bucking up some of this tree service wood that my guy brought me in his 6x12 dump trailer. Pretty nice load of wood here. Some of it's already cut up, some of it's going to need trim, some of it's going to need cut into 3 or 4 pieces. But I'll tell you what, that is one thing about having all this equipment, is using the equipment is fun, but switching attachments like on the tractor or taking the conveyor on and off, or all the maintenance that you have to do with all these pieces of equipment, that's the part that's work to me. Actually using the equipment, like running the chainsaw, running the splitter, running the tractor, all that stuff, that's not work to me, that's fun. But all the in-between maintenance items, that's the part that I don't look forward to. But anyway, let's go ahead and get the saw fired up and start cutting into this. Well, I tell you what, as much as I love this Hookaroon, it just doesn't make sense to do it this way when I've got a 35 horsepower tractor sitting over there. So I'm going to go throw the bucket on the front end loader, and we're just going to push all this stuff closer to the log splitter as we cut it. We're probably about halfway done cutting through this pile. Alright, so here's our first blowdown back here in the woods. It's a nice maple tree. Got a lot of treetop back there we'll have to cut off, but you can see this one, we had a pretty big windstorm back in January, and you can see that just blew off from right up top there. So we're going to go ahead and cut the top off, and then we're going to go ahead and use the tractor, pull it out to the trail, cut it up, and take it out with the grapple. So here's a nice little poplar we were going to try to get today, but upon further inspection, I didn't realize how far down this ravine it went. But you can see just how this freaking sheared right off all the way up. This would be a really nice firewood tree. I mean, poplar is not great for heating with, but for campfires, it's great. All right, so this is the last blowdown we had from that windstorm this winter. I think this is a hard maple. It's going to be a nice little firewood tree here. But you can see it is just completely covered in grapevines. So this one's going to be a little tricky. We're going to have to cut all those grapevines loose and then yank it out. But if you look up here, another split off of a main trunk. All right, so this was about 20 minutes worth of splitting here, and I'll tell you what, I'm ready to put the conveyor back on. So yeah, going into this, I really thought that the conveyor was gonna be something that would be nice to have, but not necessarily a necessity. But after running it without the conveyor, if you wanna do firewood all day long, the conveyor is definitely something really nice to have. And if you've got the budget for it, I would definitely recommend it. So one thing about running that conveyor is you do have to stop every 10 minutes or so and rearrange the wood in the dump trailer because it piles up and starts touching the bottom of the conveyor. But I think that is gonna be the easier way to go than hand chucking the wood into the dump trailer. But anyway, I think that's gonna about wrap this one up. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next one.